Hi, good evening. Hi, it's April Braswell, and welcome. Things just dropped here. It is Friday evening. I'm starting a little bit early tonight because things have just been, as you can see, I just got back from the showering, busy. So I wanted to go ahead and get started early so that I was able to fit in this free emotion freedom technique, EFT, this free tapping session for you all. Excuse me. I've been doing this on Friday and Saturday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific time here in Southern California. I am an award-winning holistic life coach here in Orange County. I'm the founding president for the Newport Beach chapter of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. And those of you who know me know that I'm a life coach and hypnotherapist are part of the tools in my toolkit for empowering folks. Hi, welcome. So during this COVID time in particular, I've been offering these free Friday and Saturday evening emotional freedom technique, EFT tapping sessions, because so many people are dealing with stress and dealing with anxiety, and there are healthy ways to do that, sort of better ways to do that, in the spectrum of ways to handle it. And what I add on in the last couple minutes or so is a particular rotation of EFT and tapping for folks who, like myself, I'm sober now over 2 years. It's almost 2.5 years now, since it's like 2 years, like I guess about a third, it's between a quarter and a third that I've been sober. And it's been one of the things I've been hearing both from my sober mentor ladies, where I'm coaching them, and some men as well too, with their being clean and sober. So the weekends in particular are when the cravings as well as the emotional components seem to crop up. And I think it's that way for all of us, of all the stress of the week builds up, and by the weekend we've all sort of had it up to here. And using EFT, using tapping as it's more popularly known now for more than 10 years or so, is a great way to actually genuinely manage those emotions and reduce the stress. I was just out this afternoon doing some errands. I was over at the bank. There was actually one that was open, as well as at the grocery store, and there's a man next to me, and he's kind of chit-chatting, and you can just hear and see people, their stress level is stronger. Whether you are pro wearing face masks or against wearing face masks, I'm not wearing one right now, obviously, we're all stressed. We've been doing this COVID and the quarantine now for, I think it's like 8 weeks now, and it's getting to everyone. And in various ways for varying different people. My partner is high risk, so there's just a lot of things that I do that are really there for him. Whether it's hi, welcome, chime in the comments below and give it a thumbs up, give it a like. Whether hi Lisa, please give it a thumbs up. So whether you're against it or for it, it's he's my life partner, he is high risk. It's a request he's made of me, and it's a simple thing I can do, so I am. It's easy. He's not asking me to do some really weird thing. Hi, Lisa. I hope you had a great birthday, and I saw you celebrated Mother's Day with your family, so I'm going to be starting the EFT in a couple of minutes, but I just wanted to do a little preamble, which is, I try to do this, hi, thank you, I do try to do this every Friday, every Saturday night. There have been some things in the last few weeks. One night I give platelets, and when I give platelets that day it's like 2 hours later. It takes a long time. It takes me like half the day, and then it's not right away when I get home. When I get home right away, I actually need to do a lot of green things, and I do like this green spinach smoothie shake that I do that gets a lot of iron back into me. And then about 2 hours later, hi, welcome. About 2 hours later, honk, is I am out for I'm toast, and that's what happened one time when I did the platelets, and I just had to cancel for the evening because I knew it wasn't going to just be 15-minute rest time. I was going to be out, out like a light for the evening. And some of that's happened. So what's really nice with doing this is I love to use this time to connect and say hello. So please chime in the comments and say hello. Let me know where you're connecting from, how things are where you are. I want this to be a connection community time, as well as offering the EFT and doing that directly with people. This is something I do with my coaching clients, my hypnotherapy clients on a regular basis. It is a really wonderful tool, and it's kind of one of these things where it's sort of so simple, it's kind of deceptively simple. It's so simple and kind of easy to do that a lot of people don't think of doing it, or it doesn't immediately jump to mind because it's a measurable, noticeable difference, improvement. It's just, it actually takes a few minutes. It's not just like, oh, I pop a pill, or oh, I like put this thing on me and boom, I feel it immediately. It takes like 15 minutes or so. And I actually like people to gauge, and I do this with clients, so I suggest it to you as we do it, that at the beginning, whatever's going on, if it's a stress, it's an anxiety, sometimes it's depression. I feel like it's much more anxiety and stress right now. Is if any of that's going on for you, whatever it is, so get out a little piece of paper and a pen and kind of write it down. Do like a little download of like what's going on, how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling. What I like so much with doing EFT is I'm from the holistic sphere. I've been in AA and Al-Anon since I was 17 years old, back when my dad got sober, and I went to open AA meetings with him when I guess it was 17, or maybe it was 16 and a half, because it was just before my birthday, junior year. And I remember going, and I've been in these circles of where it's personal growth and personal development. And I'd say it's very California is New York and New Jersey were a little more direct. It's very California that we're all super positivity. And I love having a positive outlook and coming back to that and not being like a major downer and the Eeyore sort of character. We're all a little bit Eeyore sometimes. And that's it. What I really like with doing EFT is it's not to pretend that 100% of the time that we're 100% always perky, perfect, and boom, boom, boom all the time. When we connect with our feelings, when we connect with our emotions, emotional freedom, that when we connect with our emotions, sometimes when we get in our heart, we'll find there's a little part where we're maybe a little sad, or maybe where it's like, I am feeling a little discouraged here. And what I like with EFT so much is that it's a keep it real kind of tool. So we get to start with feeling kind of bad about something, where I've had clients where they were feeling grief. And I've been trained by the Grief Recovery Institute. They used to be here in Southern California, so I always love them. And it's one of the things that they've taught us about the emotions of grief is sometimes I'll hear it, especially in like some Christian circles where, I've heard it that way too, some Christians where we're being real about, I miss them, I feel sad, and sometimes others it's the message of, oh, we're not supposed to feel bad at all, they're with Jesus, they're in heaven. I'm like, well, yeah, they're in a great place and I'm here and I miss them. So it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to have those what are kind of judged negative emotions. And so kind of journal a little bit, take that piece of paper, do a little writing out. I usually have a little scrap of paper around. I like to take pieces of paper, all those printouts you have from things, and I tear them into 4 pieces, and I reuse that for scrap paper later. I'm my mother's daughter that way. And just do a little brain dump. Do a little just kind of like the cares and concerns for the day. This is something I also learned to do from the folks in Learning as Leadership. They were my first area, the first group where I worked with and did executive coaching so many years ago, starting back in like 93, 94, and in the early days of coaching as a profession. And this was something that they taught as an excellent exercise to do every day. Well, the reality is most of us don't necessarily do this every day, do we? It's okay. If you even just do this a couple of times a week, that's great. You're doing wonderfully. Check about your day. Check about your week, and you're going to kind of like have some really good things that happen, and that's awesome. And this is not in any way not to focus on those wonderful positive things for which we're so grateful. It's okay to also allow the other kind of disappointments. I was a little sad. I was disappointed. This didn't go how I was hoping. And we're not going to wallow, and that's not going to happen. It's okay to keep it real and let that surface a little bit, and then write it down, capture it on your piece of paper, your pen and pencil, and just kind of like do a little brain dump and write that down a little bit. And then start to let yourself form a thought. The way that EFT works is the formula goes like this, is that we start with a sentence of where we say something that's kind of negative and where it didn't quite go how we wanted it. I'm a little discouraged. I'm a little disappointed. I feel a little sad. That it's okay to state that. And then we use the phrase. So we start at the beginning, even though fill in the blank happened, how I feel, I completely love and accept myself. And we go around the system. For our meridian system is what we tap on with EFT. So that's part of what's going on physically. That's why there's such a rapid improvement. We are literally touching in a non-invasive manner. We are stimulating our meridian system, which is the same system, our endocrine system. It's the same system that is used by acupuncture and acupressure. And those are wonderful, wonderful resources. You may not have access to it every day. And unfortunately, my late father, he was one who was deathly afraid of needles. He was the last man in the world who was ever going to go see an acupuncturist. So this is kind of one of those things to do at home, in between, that takes care of you. A lot of us here are light workers, we are coaches, we work with other people. And what happens is, by the end of the day, by the end of the week, anyone who's a parent, moms, you especially, anyone who's a mom, you've had all of this coming at you. We've taken things on, other people's energy, other stuff that's going on for them. It builds up in us. And certainly by the end of the week, if not a couple times a week, do this and practice this at home. If there is some time that I missed, there are nice recordings here from earlier here at my Facebook page. You can access those as well as also over at my YouTube channel. And you can practice this yourself at home at a time that's convenient for you. So the way that EFT used to work in kind of the early days, I loved it. It was just early on, it was like you needed an encyclopedia in order to do it. It was so precise about you have to touch here exactly in order for it to at all be effective. And then I think just a lot of people got intimidated by it and weren't using it, or people made it into these really big, cumbersome systems where you had to pay someone thousands of dollars to get them to show you other ways to use tapping. And it was a little intimidating. And I think it was about, I encountered it when I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area. I think that it was founded in the Palo Alto, Stanford area by some professors. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to double check that. But I found it through the internet in the early days and started practicing it that way. What I like so much with tapping, as it's become more sort of popularly known now, where it's moved into the mainstream, is we don't have to do every single touch point for the meridian system in order to get some relief and in order for it to be effective. So what I do like to do is whatever your thought is. So I'm going to write one out for me. I had a discouragement this week. I actually had two things. One, I had a discouragement. One, so then put that one down. And I had another thing where it's like overwhelm. there's like some complexity, and when I face it and I don't know what to do, when I don't immediately know what to do, my brain goes to overwhelm. So I'm just writing those two down, and I'm just kind of checking with myself for which feels, I think actually the overwhelm feels stronger. So I'm going to do overwhelm for what I'm going to work on. Fill out whatever is your phrase, write that out. And then check with yourself and give it a number, 0 to 10, 0 being doesn't matter at all, and 10 being, oh my God, April, I have to go to the emergency room, and give it a number. And I'm going to be real, God, because really at one point it was like a 7 to 8, and I kind of like brought it back down. So I would say really with how I feel now, where I'm being real and I'm not being sort of like in panic mode, there's that little panic mechanism like starts to like trigger, and I see it, I recognize it, but I don't give into it, if I could put it that way. I'm like, well, there you are. So I'm giving it a 7. I'm gonna write that down. I like to actually write it down, and you can see me do that right there. Discouragement, I know it's backward, but there it is, discouragement and overwhelm, and I'm giving overwhelm a 7. What you can do yourself after we do this is come back yourself if you've got another topic, like I've got discouragement, I might do another round or two on discouragement. So my number is a 7, whatever your number is, maybe it's a 5. I do recommend that whatever number you thought it was initially, go ahead and write it down. And then kind of give yourself a minute. And just do this right now with me and take a moment and connect with yourself. Put both feet on the ground. And just ground and center yourself, and then bring some energy into your heart. For me, it's when I think of divine source, for me that's God from the Bible. And when I connect with divine source and I go into my heart, when I go into my heart a little bit and I feel it, sometimes that number will change. And sometimes, like if I would have originally given it like a 4 or a 5, once I'm in my heart and I feel it, the truth is the number is around a 7. If it's strong enough that I'm noticing it, it's usually around at least like a 6 or 7. Sometimes it really is an 8. Or sometimes even almost a 9. If it's a 9, we're going to need to do hypnotherapy. It's just typically, it's kind of in that range between about 5 to an 8. Or if it's not, then check with yourself, because it may not really be significant enough to do this with. It's still a really good practice to do, just to practice. And then maybe your inner self will start to get comfortable enough to bring up something that might be a bigger deal for you. So I like to start on one side of the body and end up on the other. That way we are engaging both hemispheres of the brain. You can tell I studied the brain. I have been studying the brain for years. I'm a hypnotherapist. I can't get any higher certifications in it, but I've been studying the brain. I guess the next one up is going to be completing a PhD. I've been studying the brain and the brain science and neuroplasticity, as well as how our brain functions and what we really do versus what we say we do. I think we're just fascinating. We want to include both hemispheres of our brain. It's kind of like when you do yoga and you find maybe one side of your body is more flexible and comfortable than the other. You want to include both. Or we're kind of imbalanced, and it's like we want to kind of limber up one side and kind of strengthen the other, or vice versa. So that's why we do both sides. So where I start is with tapping right here on the side of my hand with a little karate chop. Then we're going to do up here. I use my fingers so I really can't kind of miss it. And then I do here. I'm going to take my glasses off. I do here and here, a place here it's called the sore spot, and then just a little karate chop. Ladies, if you're endowed like I am, it's going to be one side. Men, you can cross your arms. I do it as a karate chop. It's right below the bra strap. And then we're going to end up right, I'm trying to show you. Here we go. I can do it this way. No, can I? It's like 1 inch below my ring finger on the back of my hand. And by the time we get there, somewhere around in here, the phrase that you have starts to improve. Let it. And by the time we end up on the opposite hand, we end with an uplifted and up-looking kind of a statement. So let's go ahead and do a couple of cycles together. And so I'm saying that my feeling of overwhelm is a 7 at the beginning. And so I'm going to start with the karate chop. Take my glasses off. And let's go ahead and start together. Thank you. So even though I've been feeling overwhelmed today, I completely love and accept myself. And I find I need to sit up a little bit and make sure that I can breathe well and breathe comfortably. So do that for you too. And let out a good sigh. And then I move up to the crown chakra here and I just do a little rotation. Even though I was feeling overwhelmed earlier today, I completely love and accept myself. And even though I've been feeling overwhelmed today, there's so many things, details that I didn't know what to do. Literally where I was doing forms on the website where I would like click through to the form it was telling you to go to and it would be the beginning page that I had been at the very beginning. I was lost, so I felt overwhelmed. And even though I was feeling completely overwhelmed, I completely love and accept myself. And I'm going to add this part here is known as under the eye. It's right here under the eye. Even though, and you're just using 1 or 2 fingers and lightly tapping. Even though I was feeling overwhelmed, I completely love and accept myself. And even though my feelings of anxiety and stress all came together today, this afternoon, with feeling overwhelmed and anxious, stressed, really stressed, I completely love and accept myself. And even though I was feeling overwhelmed and stressed and anxious, a bit anxious, I completely love and accept myself. And you can tell I did the shower. I have to do that when I get back. We have to do the shower afterwards, so pardon my wet hair. Even though I was feeling overwhelmed and anxious, stressed, and it's known as the sore spot. And literally when you do this for a little bit, you're not like pounding into it, but you do a little bit, it's going to feel like a little bit, just a touch pain. It's like 1%. But you'll notice it. It's like, oh, there it is. You're activating the endocrine system. There you go. You got it going. I completely love and accept myself. And even though I was feeling overwhelmed and anxious and stressed, I completely love and accept myself. And now we're going to switch the side of the body. I'm going to end on the back of my hand here. And even though earlier, as I was going through the form online and dealing with financial institutions and feeling overwhelmed, I knew I had people to assist me, trusted advisors I could turn to. So I actually started to feel a little bit better. And I completely love and accept myself. And I'm going to do another rotation. And so even though I was feeling overwhelmed and stressed earlier, I started to recognize where I had trusted advisors and people I could turn to already in my life. That God and the universe and myself together, we had been bringing those people into my life. So as I need them in the next few days, the next few weeks, I know what to do, or at least how to get started, and they'll help me. Because they're really good at that. That's their gift. So I completely love and accept myself. And even though I was feeling stressed and anxious, and overwhelmed earlier, a bit overwhelmed earlier. I completely love and accept myself. And even though I was feeling kind of overwhelmed earlier, I started to notice where it was clear exactly where for me to get support and information and focus. So I'm feeling a bit better. And I completely love and accept myself. And even though I was feeling overwhelmed earlier, I've started to notice what I can do. And I'm feeling better and focused with what to do, or at least the next few steps of what to do. And I completely love and accept myself. And even though I was feeling overwhelmed and stressed and anxious, I completely love and accept myself. And even though earlier I was feeling stressed and anxious and overwhelmed, I know what to do, or at least the next few steps of what to do. And I completely love and accept myself. And so earlier I was feeling, even though I was feeling overwhelmed, at least initially overwhelmed, potentially, a little of that, starting to kick in, I started to see what the next steps were, and I kept calm enough to be able to focus on those. And that's where I put my focus now. And I completely love and accept myself. To the other hemisphere. And thank you to God and the universe and all the helpers in my life. So that overwhelm that was starting, that old feeling, that old feeling of overwhelm that's starting to go, I completely love and accept myself. And so those feelings of anxiety and stress are reduced now. And I completely love and accept myself. There we go. And I'm going to check on myself in just a moment and give it a number again. And so I invite you to do that for yourself. Take the moment now and check with yourself inside. Your mind, body, spirit. How are you feeling? And what number would you give it now? And the number I would give it is a 4. For me, it's a 4. So I can write that down. And so it didn't go from a 10 to a 0. It went from a 7 to a 4. And that was just, you can see just like in 10 minutes. If I wanted to, and this is something that I do recommend, when you're first starting out, I recommend that you do it in sort of like 10 to 15 minute increments. And then do it maybe sort of daily for a few days. And kind of get your system used to it and used to using it. And noticing the improvement. Hello, sorry, did it cut out, Lisa? I apologize. I think the recording will show it better. So what I recommend is that you do this process of starting and doing an EFT, of doing the tapping session for about 10 or 15 minutes, or might do it for like about 7 to 10 minutes a day, the first several days that you're doing it. I would aim to do it like 3 or 4 days in a row. Just take like one small thing, and I know people who then, after they've been doing it for a while, will then do a full tapping session for half an hour to 45 minutes. And do it as a whole affirmation and a meditation time, and that's marvelous. It's just, I always like to recommend when you're first getting started with something, just to do it a little bit. So you do it and you get comfortable. So what was your number? You don't have to tell me what was going on, but what was your starting number? Chime in the comments below and tell me what the starting number was. Mine was a 7, so it's a 7. And I got it down to a 4. And do that yourself also. Write it down. And then kind of keep a journal. And you might have some thoughts or feelings come up, capture them. And you will see, you went from a 7 to a 4 also. Wonderful. Isn't that wonderful? How quickly that improved. And I find for a number of people, it can be great when we can get it down to maybe even a 2. That would take a little bit longer, and I don't want this to be a super long time. It's just keep practicing doing this. And sometimes when it's quite a strong feeling, It's not that we couldn't get it lower. It's not always necessarily advantageous to take it from from like a 9 down to a 1, all in one session. You want to do it where we can integrate it in our day and then kind of do it again the next day. So I do like to do this particular exercise for folks who are dealing with anxiety, where that's going on then for alcohol triggers for folks who are keeping sober. And you can take this with your feelings of anxiety, what's ever going underneath, your triggers, and practice this yourself. I will be doing this again tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. Pacific time. I am giving platelets, so I'm hoping I will have the energy. If I get home and I can feel that I'm getting tired, I should be home by between 3 and 4. If I have a feeling that I'm getting very tired, rather than canceling, I may do the same thing of where I do it a bit early. So kind of check back. I'll try to do a post, give at least a 20-30 minute heads up for I'm going to be doing it much earlier, but I'm just suspecting tomorrow I probably will do it earlier. Let's say probably realistically between 4, between 4 and 5. Maybe between 3:30 and 4:30, because usually by 5 o'clock I would be crashing. Thank you so much for joining me here today, and please share this technique with others. It is so awesome and empowering, whether you're a coach of some kind. And I know, Lisa, you do so much volunteering with vets and all of that. You can see what an awesome tool this is for folks who are dealing with any kind of post-traumatic stress. And what's so cool with it is we're not trying to take it from a 10 to a 0. It's improvement. You understand the importance of go home and integrate that change of getting it from a 7 to a 4. And you might find in the morning that you feel much better. I have some clients where they have a lot of anxiety going on, and sometimes first thing in the morning is their more challenging time. So you might wake up tomorrow and find, it went back up. Maybe it went back up only to a 5 or a 6. And what's so awesome is, there you go. Thank you so much. And have a great time at the store. Be safe, be well. And you can practice this at home or with the folks who you work with. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for joining me. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. God bless.